This was the shot that won Bill O'Neill his third major. But before we get to how he won, let's talk about how he got there. This is the first PBA tournament of the year, the 2024 Players Championship. The tournament was played on a 38-foot Wayne Webb pattern. The most common strategy throughout the whole week was to play urethane close to the outside for a reliable reaction. Also, with the new PBA rules going into effect, balls like the Purple Hammer and Pitch Black were banned, forcing players to use other urethane balls. Qualifying was pretty insane for this tournament, as you needed to average 231 to make match play. After 23 games of match play, the top 5 stepladder seemed to be set, as Ryan Barnes was still behind by 43 pins, difficult ground to make up in just one game. But with an incredible win in a position round with a 248, he just jumps into 4th place to make the TV show. Let's see if he can keep this momentum going into game 1. For his first matchup, Ryan is playing Chris Vi. As mentioned before, both are using the IQ urethane and playing pretty straight on the lanes. Ryan's first strike is almost a perfect strike, a great start to his PBA career. Chris follows up with a perfect shot on the right lane, but a pretty light shot on the left lane. This is because the left lane seems to be hooking a bit less than the right lane, so Chris has to make an adjustment. For his next right lane shot, he does the same exact thing because there was nothing wrong with his previous shot, but for his left lane shot, he adjusts by moving just a bit right, but more importantly, throwing the ball a bit slower, to give it more time to hit the pocket. Even though this ball does strike, you can tell that the ball is still going a bit light. But either way, this double was pretty huge, since Ryan already started with a turkey, with 3 perfect strikes. In Ryan's next 2 shots, he misses a bit right, but still gets perfect strikes. This is a great sign, showing that he has room for error. Chris aces his next shot on the right lane, but on the left lane, he needs to adjust again. He moves his target inside to keep his ball closer to the pocket, but the ball is still too fast and he goes light again. Meanwhile, Ryan feels no nerves and Chris has to figure out this left lane quick. So for his next left lane shot, Chris slows down his ball speed by quite a bit. It hits the pocket, but unlucky for him, he leaves a 10 pin. Ryan follows up by being perfect on the right lane, but on the left lane, his ball overhooks quite a bit. He did throw the ball a bit slow, but this might be a sign that this lane is breaking down slightly. But with this spare, this game is pretty much over because of Chris Vi's struggles on the left lane. And Chris finishes the game with 2 more light shots on that lane. Since he already won the match, Ryan's gonna test the reality to see how a solid reactive ball would do on these lanes. The first one is fine, but the second one 10 pins. His look is not bad with this new ball, but he was perfect with the urethane ball, so there's no reason to switch this early. Ryan's next match will be with Nate Stubler, a lefty who will also be using urethane, and he's going to force Ryan to finish on the left lane, which seems to be the more difficult one. Nate's first shot goes a bit light, but sends a messenger to get the strike. Ryan throws a seemingly good shot on the right lane, but it goes high and leaves the 4-9. He misses the spare, which means he starts the game with an open frame. His last shot on the left lane went pretty high, so for his next shot on this left lane, he throws the ball faster to compensate. It still goes high, but he gets pretty lucky to still strike. Either way, the lane is breaking down on both lanes for him, and he needs to adjust quickly. Meanwhile, Nate is still going very straight, and striking a lot, and he gets 2 more strikes. For Ryan's next shot on the right lane, I can't really tell if he made any adjustment. Maybe a bit less X rotation, but the ball still goes high the exact same way. Thankfully, he does pick up the spare, but still, he needs to figure out these lanes quickly. On the left lane, he makes a small move left to compensate his last ball going high. But now his ball goes very light, similar to how Chris Vi's ball reacted. And you can even tell that Ryan was so confused that such a small move made the ball hook so much less. Meanwhile, Nate stays perfect, so Ryan is running out of time. After a talk with his ball rep, Ryan adjusts his right lane shot by moving just a bit in and keeping his ball a bit closer to the pocket. That let the ball hold just long enough to give him a pocket strike. For the left lane, he's going to move back right to where he was before. But once again, he's going to keep his ball closer to the pocket and avoid the outside. He's hoping that this would avoid the overreaction, which it does, and he gets another pocket strike. Meanwhile, Nate's facing problems of his own. On the right lane, his ball goes really high. His ball speed was a bit slower, but the ball definitely hooked a lot more than he expected. Because Nate's ball went high on the right lane, and his last shot on the left lane was also a bit high, he moves a bit right for his next shot on the left lane. It turned out to be a perfect adjustment, and he strikes. Ryan follows up with another strike on the right lane, and on the left lane, he still goes high, but he gets really fortunate to pick up this strike. To fix this last high shot, Nate's going to move a bit right for the right lane as well. The shot goes a bit light, but it still hits pocket and he strikes. Even though he struck his last shot on his left lane, he tries to create a bit more shape on this shot. This got the ball way too far away from the pocket, and it never recovered, leaving him another split. And suddenly, the door is wide open for Barnes to take it. In fear of the ball going high again, Ryan seems to move a bit left, on the right lane, and strikes once again. But now, he has to finish on the difficult left lane. He's gonna do what worked for him before, a slight move left. But the ball overreacted once again, leaving him a 3-6-10. This fill shot doesn't matter much, but he chooses to throw the ball a lot faster. It's a bit closer and he does strike, but it's still way too high. Now Nate has to double on the right lane to win the match. In his first shot, he was lucky enough to get a messenger for the 10. His next shot also hits pocket, but leaves an unlucky 10 pin. Even though I thought Nate played better in this match, making fundamental adjustments and hitting the pocket a lot, those two huge splits cost him the match. But this was an incredible comeback win for Ryan Barnes, and we'll see how he does in this next match. He's faced next with Bill O'Neill, and interestingly enough, he's starting on the left lane, which means Bill must have preferred this lane over the right lane. He's using the Reality, which is the solid reactive ball that he was testing earlier. He makes a solid shot, but leaves a 10 pin, and even worse, misses that spare. Bill O'Neill is also going with a stronger reactive ball, in this case the Black Widow 3.0, but he's creating much less angle than Ryan, and playing the lanes still pretty straight. This strategy pays off, with his first shot being a strike. On his next shot on the left lane, I think he misses a bit left, so he's pretty fortunate to just go a bit high and just leave a 4 pin. For some reason, Ryan still likes the urethane on the right lane. He misses a bit left and leaves a big 4. And unfortunately for him, this would be 2 open frames in a row. On the left lane, he throws a pretty similar shot as before, maybe a tiny bit slower, but it still results in the same 10 pin. This time he makes it, but he's still struggling quite a bit with these lanes. Bill stays perfect on the right lane, but on the left lane, he hits his target but leaves a 10 pin. So it seems like this left lane is still pretty tricky, with both players leaving tons of 10 pins on this lane. Ryan throws a better shot on this right lane, but now it's light and leaves another 10 pin. Since the Reality 10 pinned both shots on this left lane, he switches to a slightly weaker solid ball, the phase 2. And this shot is a flush strike. The ball drove through the pins perfectly on this shot, which gave him a lot more confidence about the phase 2's ball reaction. On the right lane, Bill seems to throw a similar shot as before, and goes very light. With both his last shots being light on this lane, he should have saw this coming. Because he didn't want to go light again, and he wants to carry that 10 pin, he's going to move a bit right on the left lane. That gives his ball a bit better of an angle through the pins, and he strikes on his left lane. On the right lane, Ryan still tries to make the urethane work, but he goes high once again. Meanwhile, on the left lane, he throws a close to perfect shot, but now goes high and leaves a 4 pin. Bill moves a tiny bit right on the right lane to help the ball hook a bit more. It still goes a bit light, but it still strikes. On the left lane, he throws a pretty good shot, but it goes a bit light again. He might be facing some carry down from all the urethane that was thrown down his side of the lane. After going high so many times on that right lane, Ryan finally switches to the phase 2, and he aces this shot. On the left lane, he's going to move a tiny bit left to avoid that 4 pin, and he strikes again, but it might be a bit too late. Bill didn't want to go light again on this right lane, which might have caused him to miss a ton left, and caused the shot to go Brooklyn, which was pretty fortunate for him. On the left lane, he didn't change much, since he pretty much had the pocket on his lane, and he got a strike at 9 to shut Barnes out. Ryan finished the game by striking out on the streaky right lane, showing that he was still very in this game. If Bill didn't get that Brooklyn strike, Ryan would have actually won. And if Ryan switched earlier to the phase 2, which seemed to have a really good look on the lanes, he could have won this match easily. But unfortunately, the lanes were very tricky, and Ryan might have to wait a bit longer to get his first major. But the title match is between 2 major champions, Bill O'Neill and Tom Smallwood, both looking for their 3rd major championship. Once again, Bill starts off on the left lane, meaning the right lane is now the tough lane that Tom wants Bill to finish on. Bill is going to switch to a shiny version of the Black Widow 3.0 to give his ball a bit more length. He's also going to move a bit left and slow down his ball speed. This gives his ball more reaction on his left lane, but it goes high. Tom Smallwood is using a Crimson Jackal, which is a strong Pearl ball. He's also going to move left and curve it, since it seems like urethane and going straight is no longer working on these lanes. His first shot looks pretty solid but leaves a 10 pin. This left lane hooks less, so he's going to throw the ball a bit slower on his left lane. He goes a bit light, but still strikes. Bill stays with the same strategy of being a bit more left and hooking the ball more. This ball goes really light, but somehow he trips the 2 and gets the strike. On the left lane, he sticks with the shiny Black Widow 3.0, but he's going to move back right to where he was standing when he was throwing the Widow 3.0 that was not shiny. He also increases his speed back to where it was before. This seemed to work, as his spin carry was great on this shot and he struck. On Tom's next shot, I think he slows down the ball speed and sends it out a little bit to try to carry the 10. But instead, he goes light and leaves a 7-10, which was pretty crazy. And he was pretty close to making it, honestly. For the left lane, it seems like he moves a bit right because his last shot was a bit light, and struck, even though his ball was still going light. Meanwhile, Bill is committing to his straighter, faster strategy. His last shot on this lane was a lucky 2-pin trip, so he'll use the same strategy as the left lane by throwing it straighter. This works out with a pretty good strike. On the left lane, he moves right a little bit just to compensate for his last shot being a bit light. But he misses a bit right and this ball still goes light. This gave Tom Smallwood a pretty good opening. His next shot on the right lane is pretty similar to his last shot, but this time he carries the 7-10. For his next shot on the left lane, he gives the ball a bit more shape, allowing it to curve to the pocket better and get another strike. Bill really needs to strike to get back into this game, but he misses left again and almost gets a Brooklyn strike, this time leaving a 5-pin. Bill's last shot on his left lane went light, so for his next shot, he's going to keep the ball closer to the pocket. But unfortunately, his ball went really high. Immediately after the shot, he knew he threw that ball way too straight, and he had to get it more right. Meanwhile, Tom throws a perfect shot on the right lane. But on the left lane, he misses a bit left. The ball never gets right enough and was never able to hook back into the pocket, hitting the pocket light again. And he hits that same block of oil when trying to go for the spare, where his ball underhooks again. And just like that, Bill has a huge opening. For his next shots, the key is throwing the ball out right. That way it hooks back into the pocket. He does not want to miss left here. Because he got it there, this ball hooked back and struck. For the left lane, he does the same idea. Throws it maybe a bit slower and towards the friction, and the ball hooked back for another strike. Tom follows up by throwing a pretty good shot, but it hits the friction early and overhooks a ton at the back end, surprising even him. And while the spare is makeable, he wasn't quite able to pick it up. Just like that, he needs to strike out to have any chance of winning, which is already pretty low. With his last shot being light on his left lane, he tries to throw it more into the friction to get it to hook more. But it doesn't come back, and he leaves another split. Just like that, the game is pretty much over. It doesn't really matter that Bill missed left a ton here, and with this shot, Bill O'Neill is officially the 2024 Players Champion. For a tournament with pretty high scores, these games got pretty ugly towards the end, and these lanes got very difficult. From this show, I had two main takeaways. First, if you have really bad ball reaction, switch balls immediately. Ryan wasted a few frames doing this with Urethane, but if he switched earlier to the phase 2, I really think he would have won this tournament, since that ball had the best ball reaction out of everyone on this show. The second one is stick to your strengths, and straighter is often greater. In the final match, Bill made this decision to move left a bit and throw it slower. However, the ball just didn't react how he wanted it to. When he moved back right to his strength of throwing it straighter, he was a lot more consistent in throwing it in the pocket. And I think his quick adjustments was the reason why he won this tournament. But that's it for this video, and thank you for watching.